Don't mind me just dancing around the studio. I'm enjoying that intro music. I don't even know where I found that. It's royalty-free music thing so that I don't get, shut down by Facebook and Twitch and Twitter and all that kind of stuff and YouTube. And anyway, good morning. How you doing? Welcome to a brand new thing I'm doing. I call it Caller 9. It's an invitation for you to join me and talk about anything and everything. It doesn't have to be deep. It doesn't have to get serious. It could be lighthearted. I know I've got a couple of folks who were inquiring after yesterday's initial broadcast. So how do I get on and talk about my community event? Well, you just click the camera link that you'll find at blasttheradio.com and you're on. Or you call 613-604-6464. Oh, this is good. I've been aware that there's been some audio issues to Twitch lately. I may have buggered that up. That may be my fault. Hang on. Try YouTube or Facebook. I'm still getting used to switching everything over here. Right? So it's I hit the Twitch. I disengaged the overnight Twitch feed a little slower than I probably should have. And anyway, Twitch, I guess, just didn't kick in or whatever else. I have no way to reboot that. Or do I? Hang on. Oh God, this could, okay. You are live. Remove. No, I don't want to mess with that. Anyway, if you're watching on Twitch, I'll, I don't know sign language. You'll just have to read my lips. Good morning. Hi. How are you? Speaking of things, YouTube. So listen, I'm wearing a shirt today. I don't know if you can see this. Okay. And if you're listening on the radio, I know you can't see it. The shirt I'm wearing today it's got a logo on it. It's an S. It's a stylized S. It's a superhero shirt, and I'm not much of a Comic-Con kind of person. I'm not a superhero fan. DC, Marvel, I have no idea what that stuff even is. I don't know who's who, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. What I do know is that several years ago, I was at an event and I had a great conversation with a young person who told me that their favorite superhero was a character named Sentry. And I'd never heard of Sentry, Sentry. And the description this person gave me about Sentry and why they liked Sentry is Sentry uses his depression and his mental health challenges as his superpower. And I was really engaged by the story, and I haven't gone back to read it and reconfirm it or anything like that, but I just really enjoyed when this young person told me all about Sentry and why they latched onto that. So that's why I'm wearing this shirt. And it's inspired, of course. I hope you had a chance to watch the Lowell Green show yesterday. Look, I know even if you're not a fan of Lowell Green, love him or hate him, the conversation Lowell and I had yesterday was really kind of like out of left field. Like Lowell doesn't tell me, like there's no communication with Lowell until about 5 minutes before the show goes on the air. So Lowell doesn't prep me. Lowell spends his entire life prepping. Right? Like he'll get up in the morning. He's watching everything news on TV. He's diving into every single newspaper. He's listening to every radio newscast he can, and he's formulating opinions and he's making notes. This is just what this man has done for his entire life. But he doesn't tell me ahead of time what it is he's going to be bringing up on the show. And yesterday he talked about what is it that drives trolls. And it caught me completely by surprise. But after the show yesterday, I was just, it was a conversation. I don't even think Lowell knew where it was going, but it was just a conversation that to me went in a spectacular place. In my opinion, and look, I deal with trolls all the time. If you follow my social media at all, you're probably well aware. I got people who, try and bring me down for all sorts of reasons. I've got a person who checks in with me every day to find out, have I killed myself yet? Every day I deal with this. I mean, it's so outrageous. But his question was, where does this come from? And I have the answer. It's a mental health issue. It really is. It's someone, I mean, trolls and people who go out of their way to do that and purposely hurt people and the joy they take from that, it's a mental health thing. It's a deflection of the pain they're in. But anyway, so it was a neat conversation yesterday. I was very grateful for it, and I was very grateful. And Lowell and I have never really had much conversation about my mental health. I think, if you've been following me since my Bob FM days, you're probably aware of what I went through, etc. And a lot of you are here because you've been on that journey with me, and I've been on that journey with you as well. But it's one of those things that, I think Lowell's aware of, but we've never really discussed. And I think, when I brought up a suicide attempt, for example, he was quite thrown by that and wasn't quite ready for it. Kim enjoyed the conversation yesterday. Blew me out of the water, she says. It was a great listen. Thank you, Kim. I'm glad you tuned in for that. Great learning experiences. Chrissy, for Lowell and listeners, it was a great show yesterday for sure. Andy says, just thought they were... Oh, a-holes. He's correct. I'm like, A-H-I-L-E, a-hile. Hey, listen, you know what? I only have one cup of coffee in the morning, Andy, so go ahead and make up your own words. Do that, because that'll just make this show a lot more interesting and challenging. Anyway, the irony so I come down to the studio this morning. I'm doing some work and some prep, getting a few production pieces ready, etc. And I get a notification that there's been a comment on the YouTube post from yesterday's show with Lowell. I love you too, Andy. Thank you, buddy. He's all thumbs this morning, he says. The irony that the YouTube video about why do trolls do what they do? Well, guess what? I've got people trolling that video. The irony of it. Oh, God. Listen. My attitude is this. And by the way, if you're going to troll me and you're going to send me all kinds of shade and whatever else, I just delete it and move on. It used to really bother me. It just so you know, it really doesn't anymore, because I understand where it's coming from. And just from one person dealing with mental health issues to another, you need to talk to someone. If that's where you're at and that's what you're doing and that's what you take joy in, seriously, I mean this in all sincerity. You need to be on some sort of medication. You need something fixed. But I know nothing I'm saying is bound to change any attitudes anyway. Listen, I'd like to talk to you this morning about anything that's on your mind. Have you seen something unusual in Ottawa? Have you gone to a great event? Did you see a great movie? Have you got a charity event coming up on the weekend? Have you started a small business and you want to tell the world about it? Listen, wide open, 613-604-6464. Or if you'd like to be on video, which gets you onto all of my social media channels. So on my Facebook, on Blast the Radio Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitch, and on my Twitter. So all of my 4 followers can see and hear all about you. There's a video camera link if you go to blasttheradio.com, or we've made it even easier now, wbtr.ca. What? Yeah, wbtr.ca. We blast the radio.ca. I'm just trying to make it easier. Wait, less typing. But there's a video camera link there. So if you want to be on the show via video link, just give that a little clickety-click, and you'll be on the show with us just like that. Andy's pretty happy. Devontae Edmonds is back with the Red Blacks. We talked a little bit about the Red Blacks yesterday, more about the game experience itself, which I'm just finding to be so disappointing, AJ. The highlight of my game, Andy, if I can be honest, the highlight of my games these days is bumping into you and your lovely wife and her enthusiasm for sneaking a selfie with me. And by the way, the selfie you got last game, not my best moment. But yes, that and seeing my buddy Sussex, who are playing live just as you got into the Northside stands. But yeah, anyway, I'm finding the Red Blacks games just a real lackluster experience. Andy, I'm curious. You guys are obviously season ticket holders. Are you going to be renewing next year? I'm really struggling to justify why I would be a season ticket holder next year. I'm feeling really let down by the games, and I don't want to beat it to death because I talked about it yesterday, but I really am. I'm feeling let down by the games and the whole game day experience. It just, you know, and it's not even the product on the field. I'm used to losing. I'm used to watching losing teams. I don't care. I'm watching football, man. I'm happy with that. Anyway, speaking of trolling, have you seen what Dove has done? I mean, this story's just not going away. It's just not going away. And I'm talking about the unceremonious firing, letting go of, parting of ways with Lisa LaFlamme at CTV News. It's been headline news for a week. Now, typically, look, I listen, I was axed by Bell, right? But there's an old expression in radio. You haven't really been in radio until you've been fired. Look, I understand, and I said this, when it happened. I understand the business reasons for it. It hurts like hell, and it certainly has an effect on your life. But, I mean, let's be honest. John Milkey at Bob FM at the time was not on anywhere near the level of a Lisa LaFlamme. I mean, that is about as prominent a position as you can have in broadcasting. So, typically when these layoffs happen, and they do, and it's not just Bell, by the way, all companies, make changes, etc. And a lot of times it's jarring and it's shocking. And again, they've got their own reasons for doing this. But typically it blows over in a day or so. The Lisa LaFlamme story is not going away. Well, now Dove, yes, the soap people who are very big on body positivity, and I love their whole marketing scheme. They seem to be trolling Bell right now. They have launched a campaign online encouraging people to embrace their gray. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen that before where a sponsor, does that. And listen, I don't even know if Dove is an actual sponsor of Bell Media or any of their channels, etc. But you know what I'm saying? I mean, that's a big player making a statement. And you know what? Maybe that's what it takes is the sponsors need to start speaking up saying, hey, wait a minute. This is what we're buying into here. And you're making all these changes and you didn't talk to us. The shareholders are one thing, but there's the audience and there's the sponsors. Anyway, I don't see this going away anytime soon. Anyway, interesting, yesterday after a conversation about trolling, that story comes to light, and I get trolled on a YouTube post about trolling. Anyway, nothing wrong with sexy, foxy ladies, says Chrissy. Andy says, hey, Dove, I'm all in. Listen, you know what? One of the busiest posts I've put on my Facebook page in the last little while was me just saying, ladies, I love the gray. My wife a little while ago, sort of contemplated, do I keep coloring my hair? And I told her, I said, babe, I want to see it. No, don't color it. I love it. It's salt and pepper. It's soft. It's healthier. It's so great. It's so great. And, anyway, celebrate that shit. Rock that shit. Hey, listen, where the hell were you last night? We do stand-up comedy nights every Tuesday at No Forks Given. Great burger restaurant. They've set up a permanent location right across from the campus at Ottawa U. Could not be more convenient. These are the same comedians that you're paying money to go and see at other clubs, by the way. These are the same comedians that when you win tickets on another radio station, you're going to your social media, I won tickets to go see the comedy show. We do it for you every Tuesday at No Forks Given. Your admission is free. You missed another great one last night. Let's give you Tavis was the MC last night. Here's a little bit of Tavis's set for you. If I've done this right, you'll be able to hear it. Here's Tavis.
Good. The weird part is now it's like the kind of hangover thing. Like we were drunk on COVID. Now it's kind of like this hangover societally. Like that thing where you're like, oh, I have COVID for sure. Like you clear your throat and you're like, that's it. Got to take 10 days off. Like couple in the spring, I was sneezing every day. Every day, I'm like, fuck, it's COVID. I must have long COVID. The amount of time. Turns out it was just hay fever. A couple weeks ago, I'm like, man, I really need a nap every day. I feel really tired in the afternoon. It must be COVID for sure. And it turns out, I think about it, I go, no, I was on a trip. That was just like jet lag, basically, right? And then this last week, I get all these sores all over my penis. I'm like, COVID again? It turns out it was just harmless monkeypox. So
that's Tavis. He was your MC last night. That's a little taste of the setup and the caliber of comedy that you get at No Forks Given every Tuesday night. Look, joking aside, pardon the pun, I would really love to get together with you. Listen, it costs you nothing to enjoy the show. Have a burger, have some fries. They are licensed. It's a great night out, and get there before the university students are back to and taking over the place. Yeah, Tavis, we're done with you. Get off. There you go. Bye. I've got a couple of other comedy clips from last night as well to share with you. I'm such a fan of the stand-up, the art that is stand-up comedy. I've done it twice in my life. Laura's got a good excuse for not being out last night. It was her birthday. She was opening presents. Hey, Laura, you know what? No, I'm not buying that. My little ice cream friend. Laura took me for ice cream once at McDonald's. We got kicked out. Laura, you could have opened your presents with your friends at No Forks Given. We would have sung happy birthday to you. We would have celebrated you. You could open presents there. I would have helped you back to your car with your presents. There you go. I might even bought you a drink. Kim says, I gave up on coloring my hair over a year ago, and I love it. And most recently cut off my long hair to sport a shorter look. Times are changing. There you go. Do they have ice cream? You know what, Laura? I don't know. I don't think so. But I would have found you some. I would have found a convenience store or something. I would have found you some. Anyway, No Forks Given Tuesday nights. Think about it if you would. I miss hanging with you. And it begs the question. I mean, like, I'm going places. I'm venturing out more and more than I used to. Are you comfortable going out into the world yet? Is like the idea of going to a comedy show still to you? I'd like to hear from you in that. Also, having a little fun on my social media. By the way, yes, I'm blathering on and on and on because you're not calling. The show's called Caller 9, and you're not calling. Shame on you. I would send you to the naughty corner, but I suspect you would like it. Anything you want to talk about, anything that's on your mind, good, bad, whatever else. I believe I can have a conversation with anyone about anything. 613-604-6464. And again, if you'd like to appear on video, just click the camera link. Looks like a little webcam right there at blasttheradio.com. Laura says, I guess I'll just have to show up next week and try this out. Yes, you will, Laura. And okay, there you go. I'm holding you to that. Here's another little taste of No Forks Given last night.
But no, yeah, I'm 43. I was born in 1979. I'm a part of this micro generation called Xennials. Have you guys heard of this term? It's like a small generation of people that were born in the late 70s, early 80s. And we share a lot of characteristics of the two generations, like Gen X and Millennials. So I'm like super entitled, but like really apathetic about it. But it's like the reason why they created this micro generation. I don't know who they are, but it's because we were like the last generation to have a childhood without the internet. But then the first generation to like go to high school with the internet. So we had like we were the first generation to have like internet porn when we were teens, which was great. I mean, it was dial-up porn. Yeah. I still get hard when I hear that.
He's Brad Dwyron. A little taste of his set last night at No Forks Given. Laura, I hope that inspires you to come out and join us. We're having a lot of fun on Tuesday nights, and I think it's just, we're ready to really take it to a whole other level as fall gets underway. And it's just around the corner. Let's just, call a spade. It is. And the students get back to school. Great caliber of comedy. No Forks Given, 191 Somerset Street East. Some of our sponsors here on blasttheradio.com. On a show that I do in Southern Ontario, I'm on 3 stations, FM 101, FM 101.5, FM 92. Let me see. It's Milton, Ontario. It's Orangeville, Ontario. And it's South Simcoe, Ontario. And it's an oldies show called the Sunday Morning Diner. And I love researching the show because I find out all kinds of facts about, a lot of songs that I've known for years and years and years. And, you just don't necessarily know or remember the stories of them. But the song Mustang Sally? Mustang Sally. Well, that was inspired because a guy gave Sally a Mustang, and he just, wrote the song calling her Mustang Sally because she drove a Mustang and her name was Sally. So I joked this past weekend that, well, if I were to do that, add the name of the model of my first car to my name, I would be Escort John. Like, for real. My first car I ever owned was a 1989 red Ford Escort. Terrible car. But I would be Escort John. I find a lot of great humor in that. So I've been asking you, okay, so the model of your first car and your first name, who are you? Angie is in Kitchener-Waterloo area. She would be Prelude Angie. I like that. There's a softness to that. It's alluring. How about this? Caravel Christina. Thunderbird Sherry. These are almost stripper names, right? Like we're bordering onto that. Pontiac Craig. Pontiac's a brand, Craig. That's not really what we're going for. We're looking for the model. What's a Pontiac? Okay, so you're Le Mans Craig. You're Le Mans Craig going forward. Camaro Valda. Duster Dave. My old neighbor Dave. Duster Dave. Kelly Webster, Celebrity Kelly. We've got Acadian Tracy, Century Ben, Cobalt Dan, Bug Ann, Acadian Keith, Firebird Dave, Cavalier Anne Marie, Capri Mark, Datsun Cindy. Again, Datsun is a manufacturer. Datsun became Nissan. Let me see. We have, how do I say that? Astra Alta? That's funny. Is that what ASTRE? Is that what? Who made that car? I don't remember that car. Laura is Sunfire Laura. See, again, that's kind of it's almost like a dancer name, right? I gotta stop saying strippers. It's demeaning. I'll hear from the woke people if I keep saying that. Beetle Murray. I like that. Murray's listening in Saskatchewan. Murray, you tune into us a lot, man. I'm so glad you found BTR. You're a cool dude. Manon, I'd rather not say. Why do people do that? Like they'll make a comment to say no comment, or like they have no opinion on a subject, but there they are opining on the subject. Makes no sense to me. And why would you rather not say? It's supposed to be. People are ridiculous. Now, look at me. I'm trolling them now. Bad. Centra Judy, Spectra 5, Michelle, Cavalier Kevin. I like the alliteration, right? Falcon Terry, Thunderbird Jason, Lotta Elizabeth. Are you kidding me? For those who don't know Elizabeth, I believe her winter car is a Porsche. Like that you started with a Lotta. That's fun. That's fun. Anyway, yes. Why do I love stand-up comedy so much? The question has just been asked by text 613-604-6464. I was starting that. I'm settling into the rhythm of the show, and I get scatterbrained sometimes, and I got a lot of things going on. So thank you for bringing me back and centering me. I've done stand-up comedy twice. So the first time I ever did it, I had been working for a nonprofit in Ottawa called the ACT Foundation, and I was doing media relations for them, and they were responsible for getting paramedics in Ottawa and in Ontario. And a lot of the consultants that were in would just find me funny. I would be doing impersonations, or I would just say a silly thing. And one of them happened to organize the Dorval Winter Carnival and said, I would love for you to do some stand-up at the Dorval Winter Carnival. And I thought, well, I've never done that, but that sounds fun. Sure. So, I wrote a set, which, I thought was damn funny, exacerbated by the fact that I showed up for the event. I kid you not. I had a bright pink shirt on, lime green pants. Some of you heard this story before. I swear to you, lime green pants. I think my shoes had yellow in them, like some sort of neon colored belt. Like it was outrageous, this outfit, right? Like I am trying so hard to be your comedian on stage tonight. It's Dorval. It had to be, I want to say 1991, right in there. But I mean, like they were getting set to separate in Quebec, right? Like there was another referendum happening. Tensions were high. I'm in Dorval, dressed like a multicolored rainbow idiot. And the first line I said, I'll never forget it. Well, hi, it's nice to be here in Quebec, although, boy, I really can't wait till y'all separate because my drive to the East Coast will be that much shorter. Yeah, you hear the silence right now in my little sample? Yeah, it was quieter than that in that room that night, and I was devastated. I couldn't get out of Dorval fast enough. And like everything else that I had written and planned, I lost. I couldn't remember. It's just drawing a blank. Like, get me out of here. Get me out of here. I didn't do stand-up comedy ever again until just a few years ago. It was not long after Robin Williams passed away, and the gang at Yuck Yucks asked if I would MC a night as a charity fundraiser for mental health. And of course I said yes, but I thought they wanted me to do a set. So, reluctantly, because it didn't go so well the first time, I wrote another set of stand-up comedy. And I don't have that loaded up to share with you today. But now, granted, that particular night, and some of y'all were there at Yuck Yucks, the room was very John Milky friendly. I had a lot of my friends and family and followers there, but it was just a whole other experience. The jokes seemed to have landed, and the difference, receiving that kind of reaction to your jokes was night and day. And it's in fact, it was so successful. That is why I will never do stand-up again. I'm going out with a bang. I'm going out on that high. That was my Super Bowl moment in stand-up comedy. So when I watch these people on Tuesday nights at No Forks Given doing their thing, and keep in mind, for the last couple of years during COVID, they haven't had a place to go and do stand-up. My buddy Jesse Reynolds, is part of the Ottawa stand-up scene, Toronto every now and then, now based in Kingston. And I know that they were doing some stand-up comedy nights at like Wesley Clover Parks, like the same place they were doing the drive-thrus and things. So you'd pull in your car and you would watch the comedians on stage and they'd be up on the big screen. And, you'd laugh in your car, I would assume. But if you really liked the joke, you would honk. And for the comedians that were there, they kept saying, it's so weird. A car honk, it's unnatural. And anyway, so a lot of these people, for 2 years, they haven't had a chance to be on stage. So it's really fun to see them up and doing things like this. You got to see Emmett. Here's Emmett.
Okay, I have a joke. What's the Titanic's least favorite kind of lettuce?
Iceberg.
Too soon.
Emmett's very much styled after like Stephen Wright, and I don't know how he keeps a straight face during it, but his whole set is those one-liners, that deadpan thing. Been a couple of times that we've seen him at No Forks Given. Emmett Morrison is his name. Hart Scholdice had a great line last night. Andre was there too. He's laughing along. Hart Scholdice here, his take on the convoy.
I mean, I remember like watching them all roll into town. All these white people camped out in a long line down Wellington Street. After about 3 days, I said, man, when are these Nickelback tickets going to go on sale?
I mean, isn't that a great line? He's like, why didn't I think of that line? Fantastic. And we closed last night with first time seeing her. She was great. Simone Holder is her name. Simone.
But there's nothing wrong with being single. How many of you are single in here? Yeah. There's no shame in being single at all, you know? It's just that I never thought that at this stage of my life that I, an attractive woman with no gag reflex, would still be on the
Now, if you're not out there on Tuesday night, I don't know what it's going to take. There I go. I finally got a chance to give you a little feel for what we do at comedy nights, Tuesdays, no forks given, and no cover charge. All right. We hope to see you out there this next coming Tuesday. What else is on my mind today? Okay. Kelty is my second dog. My first dog was Seamus. We had Seamus for almost 17 years. And you get used to your pets, right? I've also got a cat named Moo. Moo is frankly an asshole, and we love him because of his assholedness. But the differences that I'm noticing between my current dog and my last dog, they're both lovely dogs. They really are. But the differences are astounding. What are some of the weird habits your pet has, or pets have if you've got more than one? Because Kelty, for whatever reason, she will find a napkin that you've used or a Kleenex that you've used, and she doesn't eat it. She doesn't, but she tears it up. She's like a 130-pound paper shredder. I came into the studio late last night, and she's been into, I got a garbage can here. She's been into it, pulled out all the paper towels, and they're like scattered it's like little confetti bits all over the studio. I'd be curious to know if you want to call in 613-604-6464 or hit the video link at blasttheradio.com and just share some of your pets' weird habits. Because they're all so unique and they're all so freaking cute. Anyway, I'll leave you with that. If you're interested in that conversation, by all means, these are just idea starters. The whole concept of the show is we just want to hear from you. Surely you've got something to say or promote, or maybe you want to sing us a song, tell us a joke, whatever. Okay. Laura says potato comes. Your potato is a dog, I'm assuming. Dog potato comes wandering down to my office at 11 a.m. every morning on the dot to demand a walk. It's uncanny, their sense of time. It's so weird. And I wish we could explain it. Murray has a parrot who will shred anything and everything. Murray, Donald Trump is on the phone for you. That's awful. I didn't want to get into politics. That's as close as we'll get to politics. Weird habits that your pets have. Potato is the dog. Sir Yukon Cornelius Potato for short. I see. Speaking of, Kelty, are you there? Yeah, she's outside the door. See, this is new for her for me to have the studio door open and her be welcome in. This is another thing that she would do. She will happily sit on the other side of the door because if I'm in a soundproofed environment, right, or sound deadened environment, and she will happily sit on the other side of that door all day, just waiting for me to open the damn thing. I mean, we don't deserve dogs. Nobody, where else do you get that kind of loyalty? It's unbelievable. But of course, the minute the door's open, she's in here and chewing things. Chrissy says, my dog howls to Randy Houser's song, We Went, and certain songs he will get howling. Your dog howls to Randy Houser? That's amazing. Andrea, Hazel gets in the shower with me. I tell her she's a pervert. I'm assuming Hazel's not a cat. You ain't getting a cat anywhere near a shower. That's awesome. Maybe you get back into comedy, says Murray. Yeah, it's not going to happen, buddy. Not going to happen. You know what? I've got this show. I've got my own radio station now. And that's a whole other topic of conversation. Radio station. Christy says, Dexter especially loves Country Girl by Luke Bryan. Country Girl, shake it for me. I've seen videos of Andy. Is it your dog is it Stan that, there's a photo like licking the screen on the TV because you guys are playing Blast the Radio or me on Twitch or something. But yeah, let's talk about the whole internet radio thing that I started 6 years ago. It still fascinates me. And I bumped into this last night. just Murray's question, my response has sort of prompted this. And yes, I'm playing with my eyebrows a lot. I realize that that's an anxious thing. It's an anxiety reaction. I pretty much rip my eyebrows apart. Like I do this constantly. I'm trying to stop. Now that I got the camera in front of me, I'm so cognizant of it. I'm trying to stop. But the comedians are all asking, oh, you're from a radio station. What radio station? And like from day one when I launched BTR, this is the question I would get. We'd be live on location. People would be, I love your music. Oh my God, I remember you from Bob FM. I remember you from Cool FM. Hey, hi. And speaking of the asshole himself, Mr. Moo is here. And I would introduce them to blasttheradio.com. But they would always ask the question, well, what channel are you? And I would say, well, it's not a channel. Like, we're not a frequency. We're not an AM, FM radio station. We're strictly online. And you watch their eyes glass over. They don't understand. How can you be a radio station if you're not on the radio? Have I done myself a disservice, is what I'm wondering, by putting the name radio on my brand? Like, you look at BBC now in England, like they're not BBC TV, they're not BBC radio anymore. They're just the BBC. And maybe that's another, hi, you okay? Maybe that's another good reason, another good cat wants up and then he wants down. Another good argument for taking, the WBTR approach. But it happened again last night. I'm telling the comedians, about the radio station that I've launched and what we do, and Lowell Green's here, and we've got, great programming, LGBTQ, programming on the weekends, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Oh, great. What channel are you? Just go to blasttheradio.com. Yeah. But what radio? What channel are you? Goodbye, Moo. Yes, James, we're aware. I'm talking to a guy who's saying there's no audio. We're aware. But I'm fascinated by the fact that all these years later, people can figure out they can watch TV without watching TV, right? Netflix, Amazon, all that stuff. It's not on your regular TV. You're watching it on a TV screen. But when you mention, I just stream my radio station, they don't understand it. And yet, maybe just because it's what I do, it's so simple for me. Anyway, James is listening on the web. Yes, that's exactly how that works. You listen on the web. And we have an app for that, by the way, too. And an app that you can plug in to your dashboard. We talked about this a little bit yesterday, and actually have us there on your dashboard with the right data plan. You can be listening to us. I don't know what you pay for satellite radio. I'm not trying to shit on satellite radio. I guess I am a little bit. But whatever you pay for satellite radio, what is it, $24 a month, something like that? If you roll that into a data plan, do you know? And this is what, all the radio stations out there, listen to us on our app. Download our app. It's all streaming. And if you've got the right data plan, you're now way beyond the hundreds of channels that satellite gives you. You've got every radio station on the planet available through apps like TuneIn, etc. It's pretty cool. I guess just people aren't aware. Maybe I'm just too much of a nerd. I don't know. But anyway, a story. So yesterday we were talking about in the 3 minutes that it takes me every morning to drive my wife to work. Inevitably, I'll come across some idiot who's on their phone, texting and driving or holding it, and, well, I'm hands-free. I'm holding it. No, that's not hands-free. We went over that yesterday, of course, and we've been over it a million times. And it happened to me yesterday morning. And I talked about this guy with, his business is, plastered all over the side of the van he's driving. Well, then I came back here, talked about that with you guys. And then I went home, did my thing, went and picked her up in the afternoon. Well, if I'm not sitting waiting to make a left-hand turn, I got a green light, I'm waiting to make a left-hand turn, but there's a car in the oncoming lane, actually a big black Suburban SUV, and it's just sitting there. Like 3 car lengths back from the crosswalk, and you know damn well what the driver's doing. Their light is green, but they're not moving. And all of a sudden, like, do I make the turn? Do I risk it? Do I not? And then you see the little eyes. Oh, they come up from what is obviously their phone. Like, the risk you're taking, and never mind the risk of hitting someone. And by the way, a school zone, no less. The yellow signs like I'm on Bank Street, Blossom Park. So when you're going up along where the cemetery is and Bank Street Hyundai and all that, and you see it all over town. You know those yellow signs that show children crossing, whatever else. They're marked as school zones. Do you know that the fines? I think they like double. They're certainly increased. Yeah, if you go through one of those, well, school's not in. It doesn't matter. It denotes a residential community, and yes, a school zone. Fines are increased in those zones. And there's these people, they're doing 80, 90 through there, and she's, holding up traffic, staring at her phone. But she's not the only one. So, Ottawa Citizen has a story today. If you ordered a pizza on Friday night and you're in Gloucester area, so Saint Laurent, Ogilvy Road area, and you ordered a pizza on Friday and your pizza didn't arrive or your pizza was late, maybe this was your driver going up the Aviation Parkway. So that's RCMP territory. Going up the Aviation Parkway, speeding excessively. That's fine number 1. On a cell phone, texting. That's fine number 2. And an expensive one on top of that. Wait till your insurance discovers that. Oh, wait, he doesn't have insurance. I mean, Slacker Dan. I think you're new around here, Slacker Dan. Good to have you with us on YouTube. He says most people just don't have a survival instinct anymore. People just don't have common sense anymore. I mean, the risk you're taking driving without insurance. I mean, if you're in an accident, I mean, no insurance is a $5,000 fine, as Andy points out. Yeah, like if you're in an accident and you don't have insurance, it means you are 100% on the hook for everything. Everything. Like, oh my God. But the thing that really freaks me out there is how do you hire a driver and not make sure that they've got a license, that it's valid, and that they're carrying insurance? Oh my God. It scares the hell out of you, doesn't it? The risk, and not just, risk as far as, speeding and reckless driving, but just the little things that people do, like not carrying insurance, driving with a suspended license. Like they're in the car next to you. They're the ones, in that SUV looking at their phone and not moving through a green light. And you're contemplating, do I move or not? And risking an accident. It's absolutely crazy. Slacker Dan says, yep, new here. Ottawa resident, born and bred. Cheers, Milkman. Well, cheers to you too. And he says, there are some intersections in Ottawa that are just downright dangerous too. There are. Absolutely. And there's usually one of the newspapers puts out a list every single year of the worst intersections. Maybe I'll put that out there tomorrow for people, ask them. And by the way, I recognize it's called Caller 9 and I invite you to call in or do the video link, but we're still communicating because you can post your comments on YouTube, Twitch, which has no audio. That's my screw up, Facebook, etc. But maybe I'll ask that tomorrow. What in your opinion is the most dangerous intersection or stretch of road in Ottawa? I know what I get the better reaction. What's the worst road? What's got the most potholes? Andy says, yep, courts are nasty with these folks. Bros on motorcycle was hit by a driver with no license. Absolutely brutal. Kim, Nova Scotia in the house. Give me a little taste of my East Coast. Love my East Coast. Hunt Club and Uplands intersection almost got hit there once. Yeah, why is that intersection so bad? So bad. I live right around there too, Dan, and I know that a little further west, Hunt Club and Riverside, like there's signage up. It's one of the worst intersections in the city, and I can't figure out why, because it's so controlled. And maybe it's just the volume of traffic. I don't know. Murray says, take the bus. Nobody else does. Murray, I haven't got that kind of time. He's like, here's Murray, you're in Saskatchewan. And I know you've got a feel for Ottawa because you certainly tune into us enough and Lowell enough. Here's the thing, Murray. I could walk, and I'm an overweight guy whose ankles are swelling up and my back is sore. Okay, I'm becoming an old man real fast, is what I'm saying, and I'm not walking at the same speed I used to walk at. But from where I live, Murray, I could walk to one of our transit stations. South Keys, Greenboro. There's why we have two at the same plaza, not even a mall, a plaza. I'll never know. I guess one is bus and one is train. I guess that's the distinction, although they have buses and trains at both. I could walk there, Murray, in probably 15 minutes, 20 at the most, if I had to. Again, with my sore back and my swollen ankles and my fat gut. Like, I'm that close. It is a 4-minute drive at best. I am told, and I don't know this because I haven't taken a bus, save for going to and from Red Blacks games. I have not taken a bus in a lot of years. But I am told to get out of my neighborhood and get there on the bus is probably 20 to 30 minutes. Like, it's so messed up. It's so. We have a call. We have a call. Hello, who's on my phone?
This is Chrissy. Can you hear me?
Chrissy? No, I can't hear you. Can't hear a word you're saying, Chrissy. Not a word.
Seriously?
Yeah, seriously. I can't hear a word you're saying.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
No, I can't hear. I can't hear you now. Not at all. Not a word.
Seriously?
No, seriously. Can't hear you.
Okay, I'll call back on my phone. You got me.
Chrissy, come on.
Nice.
Yeah, Chrissy
Nice.
needs a stronger
okay.
coffee. What? Thank you.
I sure do.
Thank you for being caller
And-
caller 1 on a show called Caller 9. Baby
Yeah.
steps, right? Baby steps.
Right.
What's on
Take
your
a
mind?
Quick break from work. On my mind? Oh my God. Brooke Henderson. How are all these people
Yeah.
going to get out to that course? Like 70,000 people are expected.
Yeah. So I mean, think of that, right? So that is okay. So if you've been to a hockey game, what does the arena hold? 20,000? So you're pretty much that kind of crowd times 3, or a Red Blacks, like a Grey Cup stadium times 2.
Right.
At a golf course on Hunt Club.
Now,
Where do they park? Where, like, are you going to the LPGA at all?
I have no plans yet, but I would like to because it starts pretty much, she's teeing off tomorrow. But I don't know, maybe I heard wrong, 70,000 throughout the couple of days it's happening.
Chrissy,
but,
even if
like,
it's
yeah, exactly. Where's
even
parking?
if it's half that, yeah, how do you, like, I'm curious about that. Wait, too early for my
buses?
Slacker
Yeah.
Dan's backing you up. He says it's too early for mind games. Fuck that.
Yeah. I'm on my second coffee. I'm good.
All right, there you go. But yeah, like I guess they've got shuttles and stuff. But I mean, do you park? Like, is OC Transpo set up to be transporting people? I've heard nothing about that.
Me neither. Nothing at all.
I should ask.
So it makes this interesting.
I should ask Mason, who he's the guy behind Milano Pizza, and he is caddying for one of the golfers today. As a matter of fact, how cool
Right.
would that be?
Right? Like Brooke's sister's her caddy. That's crazy.
And the crazy thing
What a
about that,
family.
Brooke's sister, and I have to plead ignorance. I don't know her name, but Brooke's sister apparently, in her own right, is one hell of a golfer.
Mhm.
Like, both of them are
Yes.
fantastic, and she gave it up to caddy for Brooke. Like, she's like, no, my as good as I am, my
Yeah.
baby sister's got it. You know, she's
Brittany. Her name is Brittany.
of course it's Brittany. Why would Brooke and Brittany?
Right?
Yeah, but I mean, like that. Can you imagine how in tune? I mean, do you have siblings?
Yes.
Like, I'm adopted, right? So like when I think of my Milky brothers, you know, like, we're pretty in tune with each other because we grew up together. But then years later, I meet my biological family, and you know my sister Linda a little bit. And we didn't know each other until probably 10 years ago. It's
Right.
freaky how we can read each other's minds, and just this it's unexplainable. So are you like that with your siblings
Exactly.
too? Like, you're just inside their head,
Yes.
they're inside your head. Yeah, right.
Yes.
So
Do the same things at some point, and it's crazy. Agree.
it's got to be a huge advantage for Brooke and Brittany on the golf course. Unbelievable. Yeah, and the other cool thing too, so I mean, I get to talk about Brooke here in Ottawa, but as you know, I do a show in Sarasota, Florida as well. And guess where Brooke's
Golf
full-time home
country.
is? Yeah, she's down in,
Right.
I feel like a stalker now, having
Amazing.
said that out loud.
No, a troll. No kidding.
There you go.
Got you back.
That's how you get me back. Exactly. So what else is going on today, Chrissy? Anything exciting?
Not much. Getting ready for more football this weekend. Like watching more of the Western CFL games, and Hamilton plays Toronto again.
I like that you're saying I'm watching
Getting
more of the
sick of those.
Western football games. Why? Because what? Chrissy, you're a huge football fan. In fact, you used to do stats or something for the CFL too, didn't you?
Yes.
Why is the West
So much fun.
Why is the West always so much stronger than the East? What do you think that is?
Caliber of players too. I'm thinking like look at Nathan Rourke for BC, Bo Levi Mitchell, and
Yeah, but why? Why can't we get guys like that playing in the East? How does it happen? Like it's
money. It's all about money. These teams are in their own little, Hamilton and Toronto are in the same province, too close maybe, and the money. I think there's more money in the Western teams for sure. They can.
How though? Because they're all playing under the same salary cap. No, I understand. Look, I don't know how and I've looked at the Toronto Argonauts. I don't know how you live on a CFL salary and pay rent in Toronto. I don't know how you do that because it's certainly a lot different than Murray's from Saskatchewan. He says the Riders suck this year. Yeah, they do, Murray. But you know what? You've got the best stadium in football, and you're the best damn
best fans.
Yes, they do. I've been to Hamilton for a game.
Rider pride.
I've been to Hamilton for a game. I've been to Red Blacks and Rough Rider games here. If I had to pick another stadium to go to tomorrow, Saskatchewan in a heartbeat.
Definitely. Mosaic, my bucket list.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I don't understand because all the teams play under the same cap. And yeah, your rent money goes further in Regina than it does in Toronto for sure. But every year it just sort of seems that the West is stacked somehow. Like they've got some sort of
Yep.
I don't want to say this really, but are they paying players under the table and the Eastern teams are just being too honest? But there's something that makes you scratch your head and go, it just doesn't add up.
Makes me wonder, like even their attendance compared. Like look at Toronto, their attendance. Like you watch on TV, like their stands are not even half full.
It's disgusting. It's revolting, and
it boggles my mind.
I wish they'd move the Argos out of Toronto. Toronto fans don't care about the CFL. There's too many other options in Toronto. Let's face facts. There's too many other things to do in Toronto. And the CFL, and the CFL is just not a high enough caliber league to draw, that kind of fan. I mean, but even the NFL, well, they've gone in and done preseason games. They don't sell out the NFL. Toronto talks about wanting an NFL team. Well, you can't sell out preseason. That was the test. You didn't pass the test, Toronto.
That's right. Even with the exhibition games, they used to have NFL. You don't see that right now, do you?
Nope. They go to Europe.
In Toronto.
They're going to Europe.
Nothing.
Which is interesting. Okay, yep. CFL.
Anyways,
you got to go. You got to go, don't
CFL.
You? You have to go, don't you? I can tell. Yeah, you don't want to talk to me anymore. All right, Chrissy. Well, I don't want to talk to you either. Okay. Don't call the show.
Find out more about Brooke Henderson and find out some where's parking and stuff. But I'll keep you informed.
Okay, good. Chrissy's doing her homework. Okay, Chrissy, get off my phone. Don't call me back until tomorrow. Okay.
I'll make sure my phone's working next time.
That'd be great. Thanks.
Have a great day, guys.
Smart ass. Goodbye. I love it. See, this is what I love. You know what? I built my career. I was always on the phones, having fun and goofing with you, doing things like that in my Cool FM, Bob FM days. I miss that. So that's kind of the inspiration for Caller 9 is just to get back to goofing and doing that. Slacker Dan says we'll always have the Jays beating the Americans in baseball in 91, though. Hell yes, we will, Dan. Although, let's call a spade a spade. There weren't a whole lot of Canadian players on the Blue Jays team. But no, I know what you're saying. It's Civic. I just, I'm such a CFL nut. And here I am back to the CFL again. I'm just going to make this the CFL show every day, I guess. I just don't understand. And I know it's tradition, but in a 9-team league, why do we have divisions at all? And then I say that, I'm like, well, yeah, except that, the Eastern teams would still, we'd be the bottom feeders. It's like your top 5 would be your Western teams and your bottom 4 would be your Eastern teams. But I would love to see, and hey, give me your thoughts on this. I would love to see no divisions, and a playoff that becomes sort of a wild card kind of thing, like 5 takes on 1. And then you've got your 4 versus 2. Well, wait a minute. You know what I'm saying, right? Like 6-1, 5-2, 3-4. Anyway, I've worked out on paper a million times, but I mean, an Edmonton Calgary Grey Cup, wouldn't you love to see that? And I know that could happen with the crossover, but can we do away with divisions in a 9-team league? It just seems so ridiculous to me. It's almost like having two teams with the same name. Oh, wait, that never happened. Did it? Thank God that's over. And for those of you who poop on the Red Blacks name, why can't they be the Rough Riders? Because we've been down that road a million times. What's a Red Black? The other thing that kills me too, what's a Red Black? A Red Black is nothing, really, except for the fact that it does represent the old lumberjack days of this city that was a lumber town. And as I came to discover, so the worker bees, the people doing all the hard work, the sawing of the trees and the hauling them, and the worker bees, they wore the red and black lumberjack jacket. You know, the ones that you and I would wear to school with our Kodiaks back in the day? That's what the red and black was. Now, I'm sure you've probably seen the green and black jacket. So that apparently represented like a supervisor. Like construction hats now, different colors mean different things. Like it's the engineers that wear, you know, like the big wigs wear the white construction helmet. So the red blacks were the worker bees. Green and black was the supervisors, and the yellow and black, which is rare to see, that would have been like the company owner type thing showing up. So that's what the red and black represents. It doesn't mean anything. It represents that. And I love the name. I do. Like it didn't take me long to really become accustomed to it. I loved the Ottawa Rough Riders. Don't get me wrong. I worked for the Ottawa Rough Riders. Cheered for. I was the Ottawa Rough Rider rooster for a couple of seasons. Just a thrill to do that. But it was time to do away with the duplicate name. And yes, I know one is one word and the other is two words, but it was time. I didn't mind Renegades, but I love Red Blacks. What kills me, though, is the number of people who can't figure out how to spell Red Blacks. It's one word. They have been playing since 2014, I believe. And people still can't spell Red Blacks correctly. It's one word, not two. There you go. That's 2 days in a row with CFL rants, and considering it's breaking my heart. It's not what it used to be, and going to the games is it's letting me down. It's letting me down. Chrissy reminds us the 109th Grey Cup is in Regina this year. There you go, Murray. Can't wait to see who's the halftime this year. Have they not announced the halftime? I guess not. Arkell's last year were damn good. I saw Shania Twain when the Grey Cup was here. Well, I saw her backside. Wasn't bad. Anyway, enough talk about CFL, etc. What would you like to talk about? We got a couple minutes. It's 10:30. I've been on for an hour. You know what I should do is bring on Chris Father Gilbrown. Change subjects a little bit and talk food. If you're not familiar with Chris Father Gilbrown, he's a guy who just loves food. He has lived abroad. He is not afraid to take chances and try new things. And he just has a penchant for finding the weirdest foods that you can find. And he's got a whole YouTube channel devoted to it. It's called That's Rank. Give him a follow. Give him a subscribe. Subscribing is free. But by subscribing, you just get the latest episodes automatically pushed to your device. So yesterday, he and I talked about Snoop Loops. Yes, Snoop Dogg is getting into the breakfast cereal game. Here's the follow-up to that conversation with Chris Father Gilbrown from youtube.com/that'srank. Oh, yeah, right. I didn't edit the video quite enough. I promise you I'll start talking here in a second. Here we go. Now, yesterday, he brought to our attention Snoop Loops, exactly what you think they are, and they're coming to a store near you very, very soon. Chris Father Gilbrown is all-knowing as it pertains to food, and usually the freakier foods. Welcome back, Chris. YouTube.com/that'srank is your YouTube channel. What are you bringing to us today?
Well, I don't know how freaky this is, but I do want you to flashback a little bit, John. You've just graduated from college.
Oh,
You're
God.
finding out about yourself in the same place where all of us found out about ourselves. You're finding out about yourself in the dive bar.
Oh,
Now,
I was in a totally different place. Yes, the
That's
dive bar.
the
Yes.
dive bar.
Yes.
Now, tell me, what does that experience taste like on your mind's palate?
Tastes like stale Molson Canadian beer.
I would have also accepted native cigarettes and regret, but do you find this to be a particularly nostalgic flavor and something that you'd really love to have recreated today?
Absolutely no way in hell.
Well, apparently someone out there is jonesing for it, and that person's almost certainly Keith Richards, I think, but it's now a flavor that you can buy in store. So no, this isn't done by Keith Richards. That was a side joke, but there's a company out there called Tipsy Scoop that makes alcohol infused ice cream. And
oh, wait, what?
Yeah, I knew. It's funny. I was waiting for that head to zip around as soon as I said alcohol infused ice cream. I knew I had the
You
right
had
audience.
me at hello with that. Yes.
Yeah, and it's legit. Most of the pints pack about 5% alcohol content, so you've got to pace yourself when eating this. And just hearing the flavors, it does sound dangerous. So you've got stuff like churro dulce de leche, margarita sorbet, dark chocolate whiskey salted caramel.
Yes to that.
Spiked mint chip, and the list goes on and on.
Oh, hell yes to that. Please tell me they're doing something with Pink Whitney. And like
I didn't see anything with Pink Whitney. I went looking specifically for it, but you can.
Oh my God, Chris, we need to do this for Christmas. Pink Whitney and candy cane ice cream.
That'd go really, really well together.
I know. I know.
I'm in on this venture. I like this. We're gonna have our own tipsy scoops before this segment is done. That's great. So these guys partnered with Miller High Life to create something called the Dive Bar, and smartly, it's an ice cream bar playing on the bar name and celebrating the 100th anniversary of the ice cream bar. The ice cream is infused with Miller High Life beer and then all the Dive Bar staples. So you've got peanuts, you've got caramel to replicate the sticky floors, carbonated candy to give you the beer fizz, and dark chocolate to remind you of the dark wood and dim lighting, with a little bit of hint of tobacco smoke flavoring to pull that whole Dive Bar experience together. So, well, okay, I guess that answers my next question. I was going to ask, now that you've pulled the whole puzzle together, would you?
It's ice cream. I've never said no to ice cream in my life. I don't imagine I would start saying no now, as awful as that sounds.
Do you think maybe we're missing anything to give it a true dive bar feel, though, John? Like, I was wondering maybe some stale nachos or a bullet hole in the ice cream bar somewhere. Like,
if we could make it smell like stripper.
So like vanilla lotion?
Yeah.
Maybe have some glitter on it or something?
Glitter. Now, yes.
Now we're going somewhere.
That.
So the price of this is actually reasonable. It's $6 a bar.
$5 and you put it in the yeast.
No, it's $6 and you've got to hand it to some corporate overlord. But it's
unwrap it and it gives you a dance.
You might not like the surprise in the middle, but now it's only in America. It's only going to be in America for the time being. But of course, I'm headed down there for some shenanigans next week, so I'll be on the lookout for this. So for listeners of the Milkman Show and of course my own YouTube channel, do stay tuned. And if I get my hands on it, I may even pop by the Bilky Manor to drop off a bar.
Oh, good. Chris Fothergill Brown. Wow. Who knew? Who knew? Well, Chris knew. And he brings it to you every single day here on the Milkman Show and on his own YouTube channel. Give it a subscribe. It costs you nothing. It just means you're going to get the latest episodes direct to your phone. You'll get notifications. YouTube.com/That's Rank. I mean, why? Why do these foods exist? It makes no sense to me at all. Well, you know why they exist, right? Where the hell's my... Oh, I've lost my template. Boo! Oh, here it is. There it is, my overlay. So you go. These foods exist because people like Chris Fothergill Brown exist. There's this whole... Maybe it's a youth thing, although, you know, Chris is... I mean, with all due respect, Chris is not youth. Like, Chris is not in his 20s. But, like... When I was in college, yeah, the most outrageous thing you could find and do, you know, just so you could have the free t-shirt, you would do it. And I just had no idea there was so much money to be made off it. Like, I do not do well with hot foods. Hot, spicy foods and I are not friends at all. How dare you, Chris Father Gilbrown says. Well, Chris, let's be honest. You're not, and nor am I. And I'm even further along. I'm even closer to the grave than you are, Chris. But yeah, like I don't do well with hot, spicy stuff. And yet, in college, there I was every Saturday night at Dolan's Landing in Belleville, pounding back a drink that they made called Prairie Fires. I don't know what was in them. I think it was, I want to say probably tequila or whiskey, maybe, with a ton of like red hot sauce. Whatever it was, I mean, it lived up to its name, Prairie Fire. And damn it, I did this to myself every weekend because I just had to be that cool guy who won the t-shirt. Prairie Fire Champion t-shirt, right? Goes back to what Lowell and I were talking about yesterday and the stupid shit people do, especially guys, just to get attention that doesn't impress anybody. He talks about these loud mufflers and stuff. Like, who's impressed by that? They're guy friends, and I brought up the whole, subwoofer thing that I did and so many guys have done and still do. And I know some women do too, but by and large, it's a guy thing. And why? Like, any girl I'd ever dated when I had subwoofers in the back of my car, including the woman who's now my wife, I would jack the crap out of whatever song I like, and like their hands are over their ears. Like, I don't like this. This is not fun. I want nothing to do with it. And yet, for generation after generation after generation, like, are women actually like seeing you drive by with LED lights underneath your car? Are they actually like, are they getting, all hot and bothered seeing you do? Oh my God, he's got the blue LEDs under his car. Hold me back. I have to have him. There's a whole exercise in psychology as it pertains to that and the silly stuff that we do. But anyway, what are we talking about here on caller number 9? By the way, we're an hour and 8 minutes in for a show that I thought maybe I could do 30 minutes. I'm gonna be honest with you. I miss the live interaction. Music's great. It's what I've done, but conversations are sorely lacking. And this is why I want to get into this, conversation every single day. And yes, I get to do it with Lowell, but that's his show. Listen, my role on Lowell's show, I was not supposed to be on that show at all. He was just supposed to be on the radio station. And, it was just too much for Lowell to handle. He's just not tech savvy. When I last saw Lowell in the Bell building, he was still banging stuff out on a typewriter. So when he launched and he had a Facebook page, I was like, what? But he said, somebody told me I could do my show on the internet. How do I do this? And everybody said, talk to John, talk to John, talk to John. And so we set him up initially, and he had a cell phone, and he had a bunch of hot buttons that would start the intro to his show, and his commercial was on another one. And, he had to launch the audio feed and the video feed. And like out of the corner of his eye, he'd be watching the Facebook scroll by and it would move too fast. And I get it, because it's a lot. So, I'm on with him, basically I was supposed to be just the guy that does the heavy lifting and, screens the calls and reads the comments to him so he could focus on the show. And now I get to have, be part of the conversation with him, which is fascinating. And in a million years, I never imagined I'd be doing it. But this is a different thing. This, I get to be more me. And me is just a guy who likes to have conversations with cool people like you about whatever's on your mind. So that's kind of what we're trying to launch here with caller 9. I'm not sure if the name will stick or whatever else, but this is kind of the new plan for me going forward, to do this Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays from 9:30 until whenever. Dan asks, didn't a company make a Thanksgiving-themed soda pop set a few years back ago? One soda was turkey-flavored, another was stuffing, etc. And guess what? There's Chris with the answer. Yep, the turkey and gravy soda was done by Jones Soda. Chris, I love how you know that and post the answer like within 60 seconds of the question. Chris goes on to say, as well as green bean casserole, Brussels sprouts, pumpkin pie, etc. He believes it was around 2004. He ordered it. He drank it. He regretted it. That's just sick. Frig. But you know what, Chris? I gag at it, but I mean, there's a market for this, and I think you're onto something really great. And I'm really proud of Chris. Chris was one of my broadcasting students when I taught in the Algonquin College radio program. He was a standout. He was the youngest person in the class, and just brilliant. Just brilliant. Not working in broadcasting. I don't believe, other than, working at Cool FM for a little bit part-time, while you were in school, I don't believe you ever, spent like a full-time gig in broadcasting. But I really think that you've sort of found that niche for yourself. And let's face it, broadcasting now, it ain't radio. It ain't TV. Like, if I'm Lisa LaFlamme, you know what I'm doing? I'm getting myself a decent webcam and a microphone, and I'm sitting down every single night around 11 o'clock at night, and I'm going to tell you the news for about 10 minutes. And I'm going to steal their lunch. But she ain't going to do that. And you know why? Because in order to get that severance package, she would have had to have signed a piece of paper that says, I will not compete for X number of years. Sad, isn't it? But that's what she should do. In fact, speaking of that, so I'm a big fan of a show out of the States, or had been. I had been a big fan of a show in the States. This is where broadcasting is making me crazy. And this has been my whole life, broadcasting. But it's a syndicated show in the States. It kind of flies under the radar, but it's on in like 10 different markets, called The Burt Show. Burt Weiss owns and operates the show, and it's on, like I said, a few dozen stations. And he's got a whole cast and crew around him. And they recently let one of the cast members go for, whatever reasons. There was some sort of conflict going on, behind the scenes stuff that, the listener was never really aware of. And a move had to be made, and one person was let go. Anyway, this person that's been let go, her name's Davi Crimmins, and Davi is a phenomenal stand-up comic. And anytime I tune into the Burt Show, she's just very, very quick and very dark, and has like this weird upbringing, and draws on all of these bizarre stories from her life. And I just found her very compelling, very compelling. And she was the odd person out for whatever reason. I don't care to get into it. It's none of my business. It's in a whole other country. But it's interesting now to watch her launch her own podcast and start venturing down this path as well, where you are really free to, do the things that you want to do and say the things that you want to say and engage with an audience. I mean, for the last, I don't talk about this a lot, or maybe I do talk, I don't know. The number of times I would get in trouble, not in trouble, but get a talking to, because I didn't play 14 songs an hour. And I'd be like, who cares? Well, of course, the head of programming cares, right? Why does the head of programming care? Near as I can figure, because it justifies their existence. You as a listener, don't sit there listening to a radio station going, there's song number 1 this hour. There's a second song. You're not counting songs. You're not turning to your coworkers or your friends and family and saying, did that radio station only play 12 songs this hour? Why, yes, Karen, I believe they only played 12 songs this hour. Well, that is an outrage. Those conversations just aren't happening. I really believe that all you as a radio consumer cares about, that's a great freaking song. Turn it up. That song sucks. turn it off. It really is that simple. But they have overcomplicated things and made it into this like nonsensical, like the directive I got was I need to talk less in order to make sure we're playing 14 songs an hour. And yet here I am 6 years, almost 7 years into this venture. And when I first started, we launched on a platform called MixLR, which I've just recently abandoned because they've gone from like $10 a month to like $49 a month. But what was cool about MixLR is it actually showed you how many people, and I have other systems now that show me how many people are logged on and listening. But MixLR put it right there in front of everybody to see. And I would get talking like this. And of course, early on in my brain, all I'm hearing is every programmer I've ever worked for saying, shut up, shut up, shut up. You can't talk this long. Shut up, shut up. And I really had to retrain myself. Like doing this right now, this seems really unnatural to me. Like I've still got all these years later in the back of my mind going, no, you're talking too much and nobody cares about what you're saying. And maybe you don't. And if you don't care what I'm talking about, why are you here? But if you do, I'm glad you are. But the listeners never went away when I would talk. I would look at the numbers and nobody would like people want to be entertained. And radio, for some reason, seems to have gotten away from entertaining. It's just a jukebox with a shit ton of commercials. I love radio. And maybe that's why I get so upset, is because it's true love. And when you when you see someone or something you love so much doing harm to itself, it pains you and you feel helpless. Except I'm not helpless. I was able to move over here and do this. But what's lacking, and again, fine, let them play their 14 songs an hour. You also can go to Spotify. You can go to Amazon Music. You can go to YouTube. You can go a million places and get music. You can't get compelling, engaging conversations. And especially since COVID, I feel that has been so lacking. Other than the occasional shitstorm we post on social media for each other, I crave these conversations. I haven't been able to have them with you for so long. We can have them here, and I want to have them here, and I believe they make a difference. And when you look around you and you really pay attention to some of the people you used to listen to on radio or watch on TV, and where are they now? What are they doing? Podcast. YouTube. There's got to be a reason for that. And I can't sit back anymore and just go, I'm going to keep trying to reinvent the old wheel. Counting Canadian content, says Terry. Well, that, unfortunately, Terry, is something that has to be done because it's mandated by the CRTC. So you're either a 30% Canadian content radio station, or if you're a newer radio station or, like a newer license, you're probably having to commit to 40% Canadian content. Isn't that crazy? And not to take anything away from Canadian content, but we're regulating, like, the CRTC's place. Here I go on a rant. The CRTC's place, or their mandate, is not to help build a music industry, which Canadian content regulations do as it pertains to radio. Movies and TV and stuff are a whole other thing. But as Canadian content pertains to radio, they're sustaining a music industry. And look, that's great. That's great. There are so many Canadian artists who have succeeded because they got that initial airplay here and have gone on to other things. But we're living in a different world now, aren't we? Where, musicians don't even need a record company anymore to get heard. They just need to get their music out, and they can do that independently. YouTube, etc. And if they get a following, they become stars. Like, is The Weeknd successful? Did he do the Supertime halftime show? Did he get that big because he was Canadian content? Like, I don't remember hearing him exclusively on Canadian radio before the States pick him up. I just don't. The guy just came on like almost out of nowhere. I don't want to say that because I'm sure he's worked his ass off in his career to get to where he is. But like all of a sudden, the whole buzz was The Weekend. And he happened to be Canadian. Well, Canadian content regulations didn't do that. Justin Bieber's kind of the same thing. Shawn Mendes. And now that I do some shows in Sarasota, it's amazing to me how many times Canadian artists show up on the music list there. Gordon Lightfoot, we play a lot. Anne Murray from time to time. Paul Anka comes up. But you listen to American radio and there's, guess who, of course? Bachman Turner Overdrive. Like 5-man electrical band. And it's all I can do to not say, they're from my hometown. But Canadian content helped then. But why is Canadian content not doing what it's supposed to do and ensuring that you as a Canadian consumer are hearing Canadian stories, having Canadian conversation? Why is a radio station in the nation's capital able to replace a live and local morning show with some syndicated thing recorded the day before from the States because it's cheap? Why? And I'm not saying don't air that stuff. It has a place. In fact, I make a living doing the reverse. I'm a Canadian guy providing on-air content for some Canadian stations, but American stations as well. But if you're going to have those regulations in place, should it not be to ensure that 30% of a broadcast day is devoted to conversations or live local? That's all I'm saying. If you're going to have the Canadian content regulations, but then it gets even more crazy, Terry. In markets outside of Ottawa and Montreal, you can actually play 100% hit music. Can't do that in Ottawa and Montreal because we have French language stations here, which have their own sets of regulations. So in order to, the CRTC has basically said, well, because the French stations in Gatineau and the French stations in Montreal have their own sets of regulations, French language thing, in order to not, have that audience run away screaming from the French station seeking English music, we're going to force the English radio stations to only play 50% hit. Did you know that? In Ottawa and Montreal, and only in Ottawa and Montreal, there is a regulation that says stations can only play 50% hit. Why do you hear so much crap on the radio? Like, who likes the Partland Brothers? With all due respect to the Partland Brothers, cute little song, never a hit. If the Partland Brothers were coming to town tomorrow, they're not going to sell out whatever venue they're coming to. Right? They've got Soul City and that's about it. But it is set up to make it sound like these are big, successful bands. It's so insane how far behind conventional radio has become. And part of it is due to multiple ownership. Part of it is due to CRTC regulations, Canadian content regulations. I'm not saying CanCon for music's a bad thing. It's actually a very good thing. But the numbers, like 40% now, 40% Canadian content in order to get a license, when music sales, despite the fact that we have some of the biggest artists on the planet right now, Bryan Adams is huge, Alanis is still huge. I talked about The Weeknd. Shania is still doing, gangbusters. Justin Bieber, Shawn Mendes, on and on and on and on it goes. These huge, huge, huge worldwide artists from Canada. That's not Canadian content based. But then we turn around and we take an artist like Bryan Adams, wildly successful, and we determine that his music is not actually Canadian content. Some of it is, some of it isn't, right? So MAPL, you've probably seen it here. I will do art for you. You've probably seen it on records, CDs, cassettes, etc., right? So it's a circle, right? And it's divided into a pie. And it has the letters M, A, P, and L. It looks kind of like that if you're watching on our video stream. MAPL. So in order for a song to be Canadian content, James loves this story. I've told it before. In order for a song to be Canadian content, it has to meet two of the four. M is for music, A is for artist, P is for production, not producer. We'll go back to that in a moment. Production. L is for lyrics. So 2 out of 4 of those must be Canadian. So the music must be written by a Canadian, artist must be Canadian, production must be done in Canada, lyrics must be written by a Canadian. And where you get into, multiple writers, etc., well, as long as the majority of the writers will give you that credit. So 2 out of 4 of those have to be Canadian, right? So David Foster does production on a Celine Dion song. David Foster's Canadian. Celine Dion is Canadian. So, okay, Celine Dion gets the artist point. The song's written somewhere in the States, let's say. David Foster is a Canadian. He produces it in New York. No production credit. What? Yeah. So Bryan Adams marched into the CRTC offices years ago because the CRTC determined that some of Bryan Adams' music was not Canadian content. And he lost his ever-loving mind. He said, what do you mean? You're saying I'm not Canadian? Oh, no, Mr. Adams. You're Canadian. Your music is not. What? Yes, it doesn't meet the requirements, you see, because the song was co-written by a Brit, and the lyrics were co-written by an Australian, blah, 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 blah. So we launch these people into this world of success and then punish them. Now, Chrissy's got a question. What about Danielle Langlois producing U2? Okay. So Aerosmith is a good example. Aerosmith goes to Vancouver and records an album with Bob Rock. Remember Rocket Hyde, Payolas? Renowned producer. So the production's done in Vancouver. It's done in Canada. We get a credit there. Oh, let's throw in some songwriting credits and lyric credits as well. We're at it. Now, Aerosmith is Canadian content. And some of their songs are. Rod Stewart has some songs that are Canadian content. Pat Benatar's Hit Me With Your Best Shot is one of the best examples I can give you. Does Pat Benatar's Hit Me With Your Best Shot, when it comes on the radio, do you think, oh, I'm so proud to be Canadian? Of course you don't. Pat Benatar's not Canadian. But the song qualifies as Canadian content. It was written by Eddie Schwartz of Montreal. Music and lyrics. That's why you never hear any other Pat Benatar song other than Hit Me With Your Best Shot. And I don't know if you know this about Pat Benatar, but she has a shit ton of other great songs. And that's just one example of other artists who come here, record music, and they become Canadian content, but the Canadian artists who make you feel Canadian are punished. Like, it makes no sense. We need to revisit these rules. It's absolutely insane. But I really think with the advent of the internet, and look, we've got this Bill C-11 that passed right now, and they're going to try and control not just the kind of content that people like me are creating, but that anybody who posts things on, like if you post to YouTube or TikTok or Facebook, that is going to be regulated. Can you imagine you need a broadcasting license and you need to adhere to Canadian content regulations or something like that because the CRTC has determined that you're not doing 40% of your TikToks are not Canadian content. We're going to ban you from posting on social media. Like, this is what radio has been up against for a long, long time. And there's little ways to skirt around it, etc. And it used to be like they would stack a lot of Canadian content at nighttime, right? Okay, so our daytime we can focus, then they put rules in place to prevent that, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's 40% is absolutely crazy. But let's focus on having conversations that affect change potentially. That's what I'm trying to do here, and I appreciate you hearing me out on it. Let's just go through a couple of the comments. Let the market decide, says Murray. Absolutely. Look, if it's good enough, it's good enough. And with the advent of the internet, the market decides, exactly like you said. People are buying into it. They don't care where it comes from. Happens to be Canadian, even better. Slacker Dan, back in the 80s, the SCTV comedy troupe created the Bob and Doug McKenzie Great White North clips in response to government demands for more Canadian content. History repeats itself. It does. It does. And they're basically mocking that whole thing. Bob and Doug are a spoof of that. It's fantastic. Anyway, that is your lesson for today. I hope you go home and study this, because tomorrow there will be a quiz. No, there won't be any quizzes ever. But look, I want you to treat this segment on the show as yours. I had someone reach out yesterday and they said, look, we've got an event coming up this weekend. We want to promote it. How do we do that on your radio station? I said, it's simple. Go to the website, click the video link, or call in and tell my audience about it. They didn't. Okay. They will. They will. I think this is, I really think that this is something that is sorely lacking on the airwaves. Just a conversation. And I appreciate you being on the other side of it. I will go rest my voice, maybe walk the dog, maybe pet my wife. Maybe have another cup of coffee, and I'll be back at 2:00 with the legend that is Lowell Green and his take on all things in the world today. Let's keep this conversation going tomorrow morning. I'll be here at 9:30 a.m. It's Milkman John Milky until 2:00 with Lowell. Move for now. Well, yesterday he brought to our attention Snoop Loops, exactly what you think they are, and they're coming to a store